felt, well, since ROTC is coming, then just have them.
Okay, because he's the only one.
You guys emailed him?
Well, we called him, Michelle
Oh.
called him. She didn't know that I wrote about it, so, why?
Yeah, okay.
Council for August 15th is called to order. And we will begin this meeting as with our others with the reading of our mission statement, which is as follows. It is the It is the mission of the City of Forest Park to enhance, strengthen, and grow our city by collaborating with our community to provide the highest level of service, striving to be recognized as a diverse community that values and respects all members. We will strive to provide fair, professional, and courteous service through transparency and open communication. As we work to achieve this mission, we will have integrity beyond reproach while employing fiscal discipline and innovation. In this work, there are no praises and raises for mediocrity. Ms. Hood, can we have our roll call, please?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Roll call for August 15th, 2022 work session. Mayor Butler,
Present.
Councilmember James,
Present.
Councilmember Antoine,
Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Councilmember Gutierrez,
Present.
Councilmember Aiken Wells,
Here.
Councilmember Mears.
Here.
Mayor and council, you have a floor.
Excellent, thank you. We'll have our city manager's report by Dr. Cooper.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City Manager's report for August 15th. The city's Human Resources Department, get your resumes prepared. On August 22nd from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., we'll be conducting a job fair for all open city positions. That will be held at 696 Main Street. You can register online, but if you can't register, if you don't have time to register, you can still show up and fill out an application for any of our open positions. On the desk out front, we do have information regarding Clayton County's Essential Home Repair Program. There will be an open enrollment period, and if you can see, it's very short. August 24th from 8 a.m. to August 25th at 5 p.m. So anyone interested, you can call the number that's shown there, 678-632-1670, and be placed in chronological order for your eligibility evaluation. Clayton County is also conducting a digital access study with the goals of improving broadband services within Clayton County. This is a random survey, so they are calling just random sample of individuals within the county, some within the City of Forest Park. So if you do get that call from the Clayton County, please, take a minute to answer the questions. It helps us with funding and helps us as a county start to expand our broadbands. And I'm hoping I'm not stealing thunder from my council, but I had 3 reminders that I wanted to put on. One, the Ward Run Councilwoman James meeting, which is August 18th, 6 to 7. We have a reminder of our Forest Park Walk with the Mayor, Saturday, August 20th, from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Then City of Forest Park Day with Councilwoman Wells, August 20th, from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. Yes, Saturday is the 20th. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Hope it's the 20th. And I'd just like to ask everyone, please, the planters that are in the ward are not trash bins. There's been a number of planters that we have around the city and people tend to want to use them as trash bins. Public Works was gracious enough to work and come up with I guess you could say hoods or shields to put over the top so you can't drop trash in there. But please just take pride in that. Don't use those as trash bins. The City of Forest Park has officially launched its residential rental dwelling unit inspections and maintenance program. It's a long title, but it's officially launched. And as of October 1st, property owners will be required to obtain an annual business license from the city for rental properties. And for more information or a list of the FAQs, you can visit forestparkga.gov/planning, and it will give you a list of things that they will check for and what needs to be done. Lastly, households can sign up for affordable connectivity program via application process and follow the steps to find out if you qualify for high-speed internet for no more than $30 a month. This is a federal program that is out there for everyone, and the website is there for anyone interested to seeing if you could qualify for that. Just a reminder, we do have our one call to City Hall. Our number 404-366-4720 will lead you to our new call routing. Just be patient with us. We're still working out some bugs with it. However, it is functional. So if you call, please listen to the prompts and you can press the right prompt to be directed directly to that office. The City of Forest Park Fire Department will be conducting a push-in ceremony for the new fire truck that had to be rescheduled due to some things that we still had to get for the truck. But that will be done on August 29th at 10:30 a.m. at Fire Station 1, 4539 Jonesboro Road. The community, media, everyone's invited out to take part in the ceremony. In Employee Spotlight, I would like to announce Miss Joanne Kreider, who was a long-term Forest Park employee of the rec department, who recently retired 2 years ago, passed away last Tuesday, August 9th. So please keep her family in your thoughts. On some great news, Miss Sandra Davis of the Forest Park Fire Department has been promoted to the office coordinator. And according to Chief Clemens, Ms. Davis has done an outstanding job as the staff assistant. And this is just a logical next step for Ms. Davis. So congratulate Ms. Davis. I would like to give shout outs from Mr. Charles Hoke of the Forest Park United Methodist Church. He actually took time out of his busy day to call me and express his great appreciation for the service he's received when he came in to deal with the church's paperwork. He gave great thanks to Chief Clark for helping getting the church out in the community. He shared his appreciation for Ms. Diane Lewis from our HR department and all the ladies in finance that serve the front desk for their warm welcome. And he said, especially to the business license tech and who he called the nicest person in the world, Ms. Fatima Fernandez. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for doing all you do to help keep Forest Park great. Last two things. Congratulations, Councilman Hector Gutierrez, on being selected to serve on the Georgia Municipal Association's Children and Youth Advisory Council. And the purpose of this council is to recommend programs, training, research, and other initiatives that can be undertaken by GMA to invest in our youth. And lastly, I'd like to congratulate our very own Mayor Angeline Butler on being chosen as a delegate to the 2022 Democratic State Convention, which is being held on Saturday, August 27th. And it's Democrats from all 159 counties. They'll gather in Columbus to conduct party business, train on election year best practices, and set the vision for the Democratic Party in the state of Georgia. So congratulations, Mayor Butler. And we do have some new staff we would like to introduce. Deputy Chief.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
All right, welcome. Just want to welcome 3 members of our agency. We got Brandon Gladman, certified police officer. Stand up. Welcome. All right, Mr. Gladman has 4 years in law enforcement and he is certified, so he's ready to serve now. Next, we have Officer Ronald Williams. Rodney Williams, I'm sorry. So he's got a total of 17 years in law enforcement, so veteran officer.
22.
Oh, 22. Okay. All right. Stand corrected.
He won all his years.
And then last but not least, we have, want to stand up for us, Ms. Ryan, Rachel Ryan. She is a new animal control officer.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
So, and she has almost 4 years. I'll let her say it. I don't want to get it wrong. 5 years she worked for Clayton County Animal Control. So we're very happy to have all 3 of them serving our community.
Excellent. Thank you.
You are forgiven, Chief. We know you didn't do the interview, so you wouldn't know. Madam Mayor, that's my report.
Excellent. All great news, and welcome to all the new members to our team here. And we will have the first of two presentations. The first is OmniAlert, our gun detection service and background in history. OmniAlert Gun Detect using artificial intelligence with existing or newly installed cameras to automatically respond to potential gun threats. Hi, if you could just introduce yourself and you have the floor.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Jim Crumbly. I'm the president and CEO of a company called Risk Response Team Incorporated. And you've got it up. So this is our story. We are a partner with OmniAlert. My background, I'm a former Marine. And when after I got out after 9/11, I did a lot of consulting all over the US and in Europe. And I realized that I was working more with IT people, or as much with IT people as I was working with the security directors and law enforcement. And so what we decided to do was just take my background and put it into a company that integrates high-level security systems. And we're the bridge between IT and the law enforcement and corporate security back and forth. So we have a good understanding of IT as well as a good understanding of security measures. So we're really excited about OmniAlert because we think it's such a great program that can benefit a lot of communities. So, the OmniAlert was founded in 2004. It is it's a software company. So its foundation was on mass notification, which we like to call strategic notification, and also how to manage incidents. So that's their background. And on top of that background, they built other platforms. So you kind of think of it like modules. You can piece it. You can take their platform and take pieces and put, depending on what your needs are, put the pieces into their platform. What we're really talking about today is the weapons detection platform. And that's what I think you guys are most interested in. So it goes beyond notifications. It gets their whole platform. Go back to the last one a second. Their whole platform is about prevention and response. We can do management, automation, communications and engagement, and then notifications broadcast. So you can have an incident and the platform can then communicate to anyone you want within your city and within the law enforcement community of a potential threat, live threat, which involves a detection of a weapon. All right, thanks. All right, so as we all know, I won't kind of get into all the details, but we know, unfortunately, that our culture has become very, very enamored with weapons. We're getting more and more incidents. We do a lot of work in K-12, a lot of things happening there as well. I'm on the founding member of Pass K-12. We're a nonprofit that advises schools on how to enhance their security. So we have a good understanding of that, but it's really hitting everywhere. Obviously schools are the most noticed in the media, but it's really hitting all kinds of places. Here in the Atlanta area, when we had massage parlor shootings, last year, into Las Vegas, when we had the situation involving the guy in the hotel. It's heartbreaking what's happening in our country. But what we can do is have a proactive approach to help mitigate that risk. And I think that's what OmniAlert kind of provides for a lot of people, municipalities and others, is that proactive approach on how to respond and see something. Next one, again, it's just a little more detail on it. So we all know what the stories are. It's heartbreaking. So it goes into these, security is not rocket science. It's about layers. So you've got layers of security. The first layer is human detection. Unfortunately, that's the most unreliable because people are distracted. They get bored. They're looking at monitors. They're just standing out, security personnel. They're not paying attention. So that's our least reliable, but it's also very, very important. The next step is metal detection, and that's a great tool. Unfortunately, you can't put it everywhere. You've got a metal detector out here in your lobby, but you can't put that in every place. You can't put it in your parks. You can't put it in venues, things like that, easily put it in venues, and people can go around it. Or what happens if they display a weapon before they get to the metal detection? Gunshot detection is a great layer. And I know that ShotSpotter has that. And it's a great layer. It's really to me, it's a very important layer, but it's after the fact. So now you've got a gunshot that goes off, but now what you would rather have in many, many circumstances is the ability to have visual detection. We're using artificial intelligence to notice that someone's brandishing a weapon and that there's a threat in your facility or at a venue that you have control of or responsibility for, or at a park or any place like that. Now someone brandishes a weapon, it can then send out a notice to law enforcement. Law enforcement can have a live video. We integrate it in with your VMS, your video management platform. They know what they're approaching and what they're seeing. So artificial intelligence is really a driver of this. You know, and the truth, because I'm in the security industry, I'm in the video industry, you know, part of the way I make a living is to sell cameras. But the truth is cameras are typically used for after the fact investigations. That's important. It's real important, especially in a security incident where you need to have cameras and see where that perp went, what happened, a description, where are they right now? And you're getting real-time intelligence in a command center. Really important, but it's not watched live in many, many circumstances. And most activity is missed after 12 minutes of continuous video monitoring. So our mind kind of goes blank while we're looking and we're staring at it. That's why we work with healthcare as well on patient monitoring. So we limit 9 cameras for each person in the room. They kind of get bored after about 12 minutes. They can't watch more than 9 monitors and really see what's going on. And 95% of activity can be overlooked by monitors. They just lose sight of it. So I think artificial intelligence is really, really important. This is an example of how that would work coming into an office setting, much like your front lobby area. So somebody, as soon as they brandish a weapon, you see the yellow box, or the intelligence is saying something's going on. And then when the red box goes, they positively identified that as a weapon. It can detect long guns as well as short guns. So it can detect revolvers, semi-automatics, as well as long guns. And again, it's very, very fast and it's very reliable. And then, you know, OmniAlert can provide validations in a monitoring center so they can have the alert sent to them. But you also have a dispatch within your law enforcement offices, and you can have certified officers trained on this program so they're seeing the threat, they're identifying whether it's a valid threat, and they're immediately using your CAD system to dispatch law enforcement. And we can integrate with a lot of that. We'd have to sit down, see what you have, and see what's required, but we can definitely get it into your dispatch. So again, detection, it detects on site using existing video sources. So we don't need any special cameras. We can use either existing cameras, but I think you guys are looking at maybe upgrading some cameras. You don't have to. We love open platforms. That's what we love. Because if you tie into something that is closed, that is proprietary, then you're locked into that forever. I'm a Jeep guy, so I love Jeeps because I can build them any way I want to. They're open. You can put all these little kits on it. You can lift them. You can do all that stuff. And I love to go camping. So my wife and I. So that's really important. This, in a lot of ways, is much like that. We can add to your systems by having open platforms with your cameras, an open platform with a video management system. We can even, if you choose the right video management platform, tie that into your local community. So now you've got convenience stores and other restaurants and bars. you can tie in with their cameras so that there's an incident, then law enforcement can check it out very, very quickly. And they're not sending an investigator there to try to pull video. They've got it there. And if there's been a history of weapons, then that system can then tie into that camera at that location, and your community is more protected, right? But then we got the validation. Things are automated, response. Here are some of the things that we can integrate with. And so they're all, Genetech is a really good platform. Eagle Eyes, we know all of these very, very well. We've installed most of them, and we can help kind of guide and manage that installation. So now you have a holistic approach to security within your community. You're saving money long-term within your community, and you're enhancing the safety of everybody, and you're building on your own reputation for safety, not only in this community, but in surrounding communities that are wanting to come and spend their money for your businesses, inside your businesses. And yeah, here's a good example at a convenience store. And so you notice it doesn't need a huge view for the software to see it. In the shadows, it's there, so it's good. Here comes another one. And I do love how our shooters are practicing good COVID protocol. But again, it picks it up and you see that. You see it as it turns around to get the yellow square, then you get the red square, and it's picking it up pretty quickly. And I do want to emphasize again that, you know, a lot of times people try to talk about technology as being the end all and be all. Here's a good example of someone with a broom. It's not noticed, but then the officer with a weapon displayed is noticed. But technology is just a piece of the package. It is a holistic approach of working with law enforcement and your community in order to enhance safety. And that just comes from my background because I did that for years. But it's picking up different type of weapons, different colors of weapons, and long guns, interior and exterior. So, I mean, that's basically the 10,000-foot overview of what Omni Alert can provide for you. We would love to sit down with you and talk to some of your law enforcement, talk to some of the members on the council, anything that's appropriate with Dr. Cooper to kind of detail what it is that we think, the approach that we think is the most valued approach that you can grow a system like this. You don't have to start citywide. You take a system like this and you grow it, you develop the foundation, and then it grows out into the community. Again, that comes from my background from the Marines and working with different agencies throughout my career until finally I became a technology person.
All right. Yes, thank you so much. We're going to open it up for, don't leave just yet. We're going to open it up for questions. And I'll just say before I open it up, we did meet with, well, both companies actually. We had our IT director, Josh, and then we had Deputy Chief Brunson present at some of these meetings. So you gentlemen be prepared to answer some questions just as well. But when I tell you one of the things that I fear the most is having some sort of a mass shooting in our city. And I thought at various conferences, talking to other mayors, I've learned of both companies respectively. And while there are similarities, there is definitely some differences that I think that as a community, we may be able to capitalize on. Ideally, both of them, but definitely one or the other if the governing body so chooses to do so. So I do want to thank you for your presentation. And I'm going to ask Councilwoman James if she has any questions or comments.
Yes, thank you so much for the information, sir. I appreciate it.
So just a couple things that I wrote down here. You mentioned about open platform, and one of the questions that I have is how do you tie it into the other cameras? So like for, I don't know, Mary, if your vision is more so protecting the city and the city buildings and things of that nature, but how do we get into the communities where we pretty much have the shootings happening at the nightclubs and the, around those places? How do you do that?
That's a great question, ma'am. I think we'll start with the community. In order to get out into the community, what we would need is a platform where we can integrate from the community. Genetec is a good one because they have a process called federation. Federation is a fancy term for connection and control of a camera that you don't have necessarily financial responsibility for. So it can allow you to have cameras in your community that the community business owners pay for, but then it can get federated into your system. And then the integration, Jason, you want to talk a little bit about the integration? Because he's more of a IT guy. You can come over here, bud.
Perspective for Omni Alert, as long as it can see the feed, it can do the detection, do the notification of it. So it does depend on the federation or the connections of whatever VMS platform you guys choose to go with to be able to pull in those feeds. And there's lots of them that you can ask community involvement, get those community involvement to come in and allow you access to those feeds. If it can see it, it can process it, and it can make those alerts happen.
So Eagle Eye is one of the options that's up there as well, and which is a really good one. It's a cloud-based system. We've also worked with Arcules, and then you can integrate it in with access control, so you can do lockdowns, but we'd have to look at your systems and kind of discuss what your long-term plans are before we could fully answer that.
So range of motion, like if I'm a homeowner and I have a sophisticated camera, is it something that you would try to integrate with that, or you're more so looking to like the businesses and other things like that?
I think that would determine on what you guys want to do. I mean, if you have community involvement and they allow you access to it, and it can be brought into one of those systems, I mean, that's completely up to you on what you would like to do. Is it capable? Technology-wise, it's capable.
Yes, ma'am. Community improvement districts, homeowners associations, all of these are really good avenues. And we've done a lot of work with community improvement districts in the Gwinnett area. And it's a great way to get the word out and get people involved and participate. Much like you may have flock cameras at different neighborhoods and different locations. It worked very, very similar to that, to the tag recognition, LPR technology.
And just a couple more questions, Madam.
Yes, ma'am.
Cost wise, is there a set cost or a range of costs, or it depends on the cameras? What's just, I guess, the starting cost?
On the alert depends on how many cameras. And I was going to go back just a little bit. It's about building. Once again, open platforms and building. I would suggest that you guys start with your most needed areas, the things that you definitely want to cover no matter what. We can start a pricing structure off of that. And as you expand, I'm just going to put it out there. More cameras you have, the lower the prices per camera. They'll work with you on that. But, start with your base where you definitely want to have coverage and then grow from there. And you may find, especially with community involvement, some of those costs can be offset to those communities, especially if you have a nightclub or a business that wants to be monitored. And on that system, a lot of times they're willing to take and upfront that cost for you. So there's a lot of different avenues you can go to with that.
And then my final question has to do with the monitoring. You mentioned that we could, train or our dispatch team or what have you. How much training does it take? And are we responsible as a host of your product? Are we responsible for the monitoring and the, once we get the technology installed, are we, the city, pretty much responsible for taking it on?
No, we would be happy to manage the system for you. That's what we do for a living. We're not in the business of making, one sale and turning around and walking away. We're in the business of providing a service that's long-term and it's value-based. If we could help manage that, we would work with law enforcement, which we're quite used to doing, and we would make sure that they're trained and set the system up that's going to meet the needs of long-term needs of Forest Park.
Thank you, Councilman Antoine.
Okay, yes, good evening. So my question pertaining to, I understand the security aspect, just thinking out loud in terms of the legal aspect. So you have cameras in private areas, home areas. Is that like, what is the legal aspect of the privacy, invasion of privacy piece?
Well, you typically you don't put cameras where there's an expectation of privacy. So, a good example is you can put it outside a restroom, see who goes in and out. You can't put it in the restroom or even where just right there at that door where somebody might be adjusting their belt or whatever. And that's that privacy. So I wouldn't think that we would be putting them in places where someone would have the expectation of privacy. But I think there's a definite value in putting it in neighborhoods and areas, and you might need some cooperation from residents in that area. And just on poles, so you need cooperation from either Georgia Power or someone else. Forest Park may own some of their own poles, which I know College Park does. And so we might be able to put some of this and some of those poles so we can see areas, your problem areas is what I think we would be focused on. But again, it's part of the holistic package, sir.
I just want clarity on that.
Councilman Gutierrez.
Yes, thank you for that presentation. Very informative. My question is let's say that the software is installed, the alert comes on. Is there, I guess the next step is, an officer, whoever's monitoring the camera then takes action, or is there some type of like speaker that warns the person or like scares them off or?
Well, that's you should get into design work. Those are the flexibility built into these systems. And so, yes, sir. As a matter of fact, we work with one K-12 district that has football fields where they've spent a boatload of money in order to put artificial turf. So we do just that. When kids show up at 2:00 in the morning, goofing around on a $2 million football field, riding a car around it, whatever, we've got speakers set up. So then the dispatch with that district clicks on a link and the speaker activates and tells the people they're trespassing. So if that's a situation, you definitely could do that. You could set that up as a proactive approach. Law enforcement has been notified, you're visibly seen. You could do something like that. But I think that has to be part, again, I keep using the word holistic, but I really mean it. People have a tendency to throw money at technology without looking at the big picture of how all of these pieces are going to fit together. And so that's what's really important here. But it's a really good question.
Thank you. My last question is, where can we, I guess, here in Georgia, see your work? Like if I wanted to just ask about your technology.
We'll get with OmniAlert and we'll be able to provide you a full list of municipalities and places where they've implemented this. And then we can help coordinate a visit.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Councilwoman Wells.
Yes, well, Councilman Gutierrez kind of stole my question because I wanted to know how it will alert someone, who would respond, in case of an alert. But my second question is, so I know we have cameras already around the city, and then something happens and the cameras don't work. So, and I think you answered it already. I just want to be sure. So you all could work with the camera system that we already have, and like we have some in the park, but they don't work. So you all could help work with that instead of us, not instead, maybe together if we need more or whatever, but you all can help with that system, integrate.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. We'd be happy to. I'm, putting on my old consulting hat, I would rather meet with you guys and meet with your representatives and say, well, here's some directions of things I think you should do. If I send you in the right direction and you have success, business is going to come to us eventually. I've lived that philosophy. And so we would be happy to work with you guys to say, What do you have? What cameras really need to be replaced? And what could we salvage? And what kind of system do you guys want to implement for your entire city? So, when we sit down and have the opportunity to sit down with you, we'd be wanting to look 5, 7, 10 years down the line. What can we do to lay a foundation? And then you can Jeep it up where you can bolt on and bolt off as technology changes, because technology changes.
My last question, so I know when it comes to, there's a couple of apartments that have a lot of gang activity in them, where they posting guns and the kids hanging out or whatever. How would it work with it being private property? Like if we say this is the area of concern and we want to put cameras out, how would that work?
It's typically through a memorandum of understanding that the city attorneys could establish if you push out to the community and say, here's what we're trying to do. We want to establish a community. It's almost like a virtual community policing program. All right. And so you develop the MOU, you go into the community and you let the apartment complexes know, here's what we can do. We can help you establish this is your camera. You have to keep it up. You have to maintain it. And we're not going to monitor that camera except through AI, or we might do virtual patrols. And again, that's up to law enforcement because you don't want to overpromise something, but that's one of the benefits of that holistic package. Now you've got eyes on the ground without putting a car on the ground, and you're limited. There's only so many police officers that can patrol your city. So by having that holistic approach, you're enhancing your law enforcement. It's a force multiplier, and the artificial intelligence adds to that.
Thank you.
Councilman Mears.
Oh,
Dr. Hooper. All right, thank you. So my question, and I guess this is for both you and for Shot Spotter. Have you guys ever had a municipality where you guys work together? And if so, does the equipment, I don't know, the federation of it all, like where they tie in together?
I think that, look, honestly, I'd be happy to work with someone if it builds safety. I think it's layers of security
Yes.
is what's important for our community, not just our system is better than their system. No, both the systems take a very proactive approach. And I think there's ways to work together, and it's about what systems you guys integrate with, which I'm sure they're the big ones. And so we would be very happy to work with.
Well, and then I guess one point of distinction is that OmniAlert, you guys are visually detecting weapons, and Shot Spotter is audio. And we'll hear more about that when you guys come up. But if there's not any more questions, oh, yes, sir.
I do have one question. The council did approve the flock cameras for us maybe 2 council meetings ago, and we are also in the process of working with them. Do you guys integrate with those? I mean, I know they're just basically the license plate readers, but.
Yeah, in short, Flock is a great system and a huge benefit because of the database, but they're kind of a standalone system. They're there for one thing and one thing only, LPR and the database to let law enforcement know if a vehicle is wanted, if it's stolen, if whatever. And that's the difference. So I think it might be, we'd play in the sandbox with them anytime. I'm just not sure they'll play in the sandbox with us.
Gotcha. Okay.
Thank you so much. So up next, we have Shot Spotter gunshot detection and background and history. Shot Spotter Precision Policing Platform is a technology used to help law enforcement identify gunshots within neighborhoods and other areas to actively respond to an incident.
Sorry about the technical problem on the presentation.
Josh, can you provide some assistance?
We just have to talk through this. Work fine in rehearsal. Okay.
Thank you.
So, thank you. On behalf of my colleague, Jason Silva, my name is Ron Teachman. Quick introduction, 38 years in law enforcement, 8 of those years as chief of police, New Bedford, Massachusetts, South Bend, Indiana. I installed ShotSpotter in both cities where I served. Both cities are still loyal and happy customers of this solution. We're in 135 cities across the country. We look forward to coming here to Forest Parking, working with all of you. What I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, hopefully we can get some video, is ShotSpotter Respond, which is a gunshot detection and location service. And our motto is detect, protect, connect. What ShotSpotter will do is tell you what happened. Should have gone with the thumb drive.
Our computer.
I may just have to talk through it. You have a PDF of my presentation.
Yeah.
Let me just talk through it then, given the technical issues. So as you can see from the slides, 80% of gunfire goes unreported. How do we know that? Independent academic research has taught us that, but also our customers give us feedback. Last 2 years, an outside independent audit showed that we were 97% effective in notifying about gunfire. The false positive rate of just 0.5%. Now, this is startling to know that 80% of the gunfire happening in your city is unreported. Why don't people call? That'll probably work best. Thank you. So why don't people call 911? 4 reasons I hear all the time traveling around the country, as I have been on behalf of ShotSpotter the last 7 years, in my experience as a police officer and a chief. They don't call the police because they're not sure the noise they heard is gunfire. They think someone else is calling. They're afraid. They're afraid if they call the police squad car, police car comes to their door, and what if the shooter or the group associated with the shooter sees that? They're afraid of retaliation. And lastly, they've resigned to it. Doesn't mean they're happy about it, but they've kind of given up because they don't see a police response, given that 80% of the time, police don't even know. So with that, how we measure success of our police to save lives, to solve crime, and to engage the community. If the police only get at best 20% notification, their chance of success would be much less than that, certainly on solvability and saving lives. And what happens is the gunfire continues. The shooters are emboldened, they don't see a police response. And so the likelihood of homicides and non-fatal shootings and gunfire in your community will persist. Now, as to your residents, thank you. Let's personalize this for a moment. Tonight, imagine in some neighborhood of Forest Park, there's shots fired. A parent awakens by the gunfire. They go down the hall and comfort a child who's crying. And a few minutes later, they go to the front window and discreetly peer through the blinds. They're expecting to see a police response from your police department. Capable, dedicated officers, including the new employees you have. But because the police don't know, they won't show. Slide up. But your residents looking out don't know that. They think the police are omniscient because on TV, every crime gets solved by the police. So you have this disconnect from what the police know because 911's not informing them and the public expectation of a police response. And when they don't see a police officer, no fault of the police, they might think it's deliberate indifference. They might think the police just don't care. Now, nothing could be further from the truth, but you can understand the perspective of a resident not seeing a police response. And this creates a vicious cycle. The gun violence continues. There's a negative perception about the city administration and your police department unfairly. This erodes community trust and it puts officers at risk. Scroll up, please. So in real time, I would go through this diagram. A shot is fired. No one knows about it. And you can ask any police officer here in Forest Park, how often do you get sent to a local emergency room or trauma center? That's what the Red Cross designates. And there was no corresponding 911 call. The first time they know about an injured person is when they get sent to the hospital. But if someone does call, it's on average 780 feet away. We may be sending our officer through the danger zone to get to the caller's house because we don't know where the danger is. We just know where the caller is when somebody calls 911 about hearing shots fired. That puts the officer at risk. And furthermore, if they get to the caller's house, they can set up a search area and they're not going to find an injured person. They're not going to find evidence because the caller is too far away. Scroll up. This non-action is problematic. It diminishes quality of life. We don't let our kids use playgrounds. We don't let them leave home after school. And young men, if there's a narrative in the house that the police don't care, may join gangs or groups for their own protection or the protection of their family because of the perspective and perception about the police response. And you can see where this disconnect causes a problem. But at ShotSpotter, we say, what if there's a way to address all these concerns, officer safety, public perception, community trust, and violence reduction? We can detect, protect, connect. Now, how do we do this? How do we detect? Well, ShotSpotter will tell you what happened, when it happened, and where it happened. Precisely. How does it work? You determine the neighborhood or the neighborhoods that you want us to cover. We set up a coverage area. Think of the cell phone that all of you have probably on the desk in front of you or in your pocket. The vendor that you have for your cell phone has set up a network here in Forest Park, here in your county, throughout the state of Georgia, AT&T, Verizon, and so forth. We will similarly build an infrastructure of our solution, putting our sensors on rooftops of buildings or on utility poles as needed. Once the system is deployed, when a gun is fired, that acoustic event radiates out and hits the sensors at measurably different times. We timestamp to the millisecond and mathematically calculate the initiation of each sensor engagement to determine the precise location of the gunshot fired through mathematics. And you know the speed of sound is slow. Even if you didn't pay attention in science class, and I didn't pay attention, I had a grandparent talking about lightning and thunder. That's how I know the speed of sound is slow. You may have had the same experience. So once we detect where it is, how do we know it's gunfire? Well, each sensor has a modem. It sends all that data up to the cloud. A machine filter, a classifier, is going to filter out most of the noises that are not gunfire. If there's a probability that is, we send that information up to an acoustic incident review center, where humans then go through a series of tests to confirm gunfire before we dispatch a police officer. They listen to the audio recording, they look at the sense of participation, and they look at the waveform configuration. Slide up. So sitting in front of a bank of monitors, they're listening, they're looking at waveforms, gunfire is unique, and they look at the sense of participation. Let me just briefly explain. If I go outside and set off a bottle rocket or an M80, that's an omnidirectional acoustic event, and the sensors participate equally. If I fire a gun, that's a very linear or directional acoustic event, and the sensors participate more in line. So we're very, very accurate to filter out the false positives and only dispatch the police as necessary. And that whole process takes under 60 seconds from trigger pull. Up, please. We send that notification simultaneously to a 911 communication center, to the officers' patrol cars, by the way, to desktops, so the deputy and the chief will get it as well at their office, out in the field to officers' phones, and even to their smartwatches. We perform on both Android and iOS platforms, so it doesn't matter what type of device the officer has. Now let me move quickly to protect. So the officer would be on patrol, they would get a distinct audio sound that would work on my laptop if it weren't in PDF, and they would cause them, scroll back down, please. They'd look at the screen. Now that screen, if I was in real time, would blow up and you could see the number of rounds fired in that yellow circle. And you would look at the left and it would tell you that the shooter is moving northwest at 15 miles an hour. We can plot each latitude and longitude and the time to determine direction of travel and speed of travel to let the officers know if there's a moving car, like a drive-by shooting. We can also tell them, slide up, we can also tell them the sequence of shots fired. So if Jason and I are shooting at each other as adversaries and the police don't have a third-party witness, just by interviewing us and we say what side of the street we were standing on, you can tell who the primary shooter was. Also works very effectively in officer-involved shootings to justify and substantiate the officer's actions. And we timestamp to the millisecond. Now, if I had audio, and this wasn't a PDF, I'd play for you the acoustics of the gunshots. And I can do that in a moment off my laptop if you allow me. We capture the audio and the officers can listen to it as well. Scroll up. Go ahead, further up. And we integrate with Google Maps. So we identify from the dot where the nearest parcel address is, interface with Google Maps, and allow the officer, if they're not familiar with the area, like our new officers that are sworn in, presented to you tonight, may not know the streets of Forest Park that well. We want to make sure they're safe and they can better protect you. We show them what the neighborhood looks like where they're being dispatched. Scroll up, and they can just pan on their device, phone or laptop, and they can see the neighborhood. Keep going. And they can see all the houses. And for example, go on more, pick a landmark building like the one on the far right and make a tactical approach without driving into the danger zone where an active shooter is. Scroll up, please. Thank you. We can also navigate for them if they don't know how to get there, particularly if they're from a beat or 2 beats away. So we can show them without having to enter anything. Scroll up with whatever have they on their phone. Apple Maps, Google Maps, or Waze. Keep going. Now, we also give situational awareness. An officer can look on their device, tablet, laptop, phone, and see what gunfire has occurred in the last 24 hours. So if I'm coming to work in patrol, I won't even get this at roll call. I can see what has occurred. I can click on any one of these teardrops, bring up the police report, and totally familiarize myself. Regular duty, overtime, or extra duty to know what's going on where I'm working. Scroll up. Been off for a couple of days. I click where it says 24 goes to 3 and the screen populates. Up again. And this is 7-day view. So 24 hours, 3 days, and 7 days, you can see what's happening. Scroll again. Now, it's also very important for the chief and the deputy to allocate resources fairly and effectively and efficiently without bias, being totally objective. They can look at the screen, 24 hours, go up, 3 days, go up, 7 days. When you see clusters like this, we know to deploy not only more police resources, but government resources as well, including nonprofits to deal with what's happening in those communities. So better allocation of resources through the city manager's office, better allocation of resources from the police chief. Scroll up, please. We not only give you alerts, we have a customer success team that we provided for you, kind of like having a personal trainer when you go to the gym. These customer success people are all former law enforcement, federal and local agencies with ShotSpotter experience. Go up. They do a full onboarding program with training all your officers, key performance indicators, and so forth. And we work, go ahead, go up. We work with your prosecutors, both your local and your U.S. Attorney's Office. So your county prosecutor and your U.S. Attorney. Go up. We give a detailed forensic report that's admissible in court. Go up. And we provide expert witness testimony as part of our solution. Go up. Lastly, connect. I'll bring this to close. You can't solve a crime if you don't get to the crime scene. You can't save a life if you don't get to the crime scene. ShotSpotter puts you at the crime scene in real time. Now, how does that help with solvability? Well, talking to witnesses, obviously, but also getting forensic evidence, spent shell casings, spent bullets, and crime guns. Especially now with these ghost guns, it's important not just to have a gun that has a number, because ghost guns don't have numbers, but to get the spent shell casings. But you have to get to the right crime scene. You have to be accurate so officers aren't spending all night wandering around 780 feet radius. Now, we can also integrate, as you asked earlier about other technologies, we can directly integrate with cameras, scroll up, license plate readers, video management systems, as we said, UAVs, drones, and so forth with an API, application program interface. And we can work with strategies such as street outreach programs, focused deterrence. And I'm just going to take a minute and talk about trauma-informed care. Recognizing, as we do at ShotSpotter, recognizing as your police department recognizes, that victims of gun violence are not just when bullets penetrate flesh. People suffer a vicarious trauma when there's gunfire in the neighborhoods. They're harmed psychologically. So all of us are harmed psychologically, but our young people are harmed physiologically as well, because their brains are still in development. This is called average childhood experiences. And exposure to violence, like gun violence, causes disrupted neurodevelopment. So what's the solution? We suggest taking ShotSpotter data, slide up, especially the clusters, and share that with your school officials to monitor our children to see if there's a depreciation in attendance, performance, or behavior. Not coming to school because they're afraid of the walk to or from, not doing well academically because they haven't been getting sleep at night, or they're distracted because of the violence, or acting out because hurt people hurt people. So rather than expel and punish the kids, as we've done historically across our country, recognizing them as victims, give them wraparound services, but you can't do that if you don't have the data to drive those decisions. Scroll up. In closing, you bring ShotSpotter to Forest Park, when your residents look out the window, they'll see a response from your police department. Effectively getting to victims and transporting them to the hospital because time is tissue. And then before they as they do their work, set up the yellow tape, scroll, talk to witnesses, up, get the forensic evidence, identify perpetrators. We're not talking mass incarceration, precision policing to only get those very few people that are driving most of the violence. But before they take down the yellow tape, we would ask them to knock on a few doors and ring doorbells immediately around the crime scene and offer this. Scroll up. We're here because we care about you. Are your children at home? Were they awakened by the gunfire? Do they need to speak to a police officer to feel safe? We don't want to see a child sleeping in a bathtub, afraid to sleep in their own bed. Here's my business card. My name is Ron Teachman. I can see you're apprehensive to talk to me. But first of all, understand I'm going to canvass the neighborhood. I'm going to canvass the neighborhood. If anybody's watching, they're going to see me go to the house next door and the house after that. So how about this? Let me take my business card, go back in the house, give me about 10 minutes to talk to your neighbors, and please give me a phone call. Tell me what's going on with the house next door. Tell me what's happening on your street. Whatever you tell me can be kept confidential if you want, but the better informed I am, the better guardian I can be for you and your family. And lastly, don't be afraid if you see flashlights. My fellow officer is going to be here to make sure that no stray bullet hit your house or your car, that no one's hiding on your property. We're not leaving your property to assure that you and your family are safe. I look forward to your call. You bring ShotSpotter to Forest Park, you can detect, protect, connect, and make your community safer. With that, I'll stop and ask, what do you think?
Well, actually, can you play the audio? The audio that was not.
Just add something real quick too. Please, on that lap. My name is Jason Silva. I'm a former police officer in the city of Richmond, California. I use this system. And when I was on patrol, before I was a homicide detective, that's exactly the most benefit I got out of the system for the community was exactly what Ron just touched on. We were doing these things before Ron and I ever met, before we ever put this stuff together. This is exactly what I was using the system for, to connect with the community. And not only was I able to better prepare for entering a crime scene as a police officer, being able to select whatever tools I needed that I had, or other SWAT team members that might have been on the street with me at the time. It's an absolute game changer when it comes to preparing your officers and also connecting with the community to ensure that they know we're here specifically for that reason, especially when they've never seen it before. If that ever, happens, because sometimes people just don't call anymore.
Thank you.
So as I said, we captured the audio from the nearest sensor. The officer can hear it for themselves. But it's about the information in real time as the level of threat that we provide health officers, community safety, officer safety, knowing exactly what's going on in real time to save lives.
Thank you. Councilwoman James.
Thank you so much for the presentation. You see me, I had my mask on. We show the picture of the not the blind. That was me. No, but seriously though, there are some issues that we have in our city with gunfire, and in some cases it seems like it's real common. My street, I have 2 apartment complexes that's adjacent on the other side of the street. And, sometimes I think it's firecrackers, and other times I think it's gunfire. And then sometimes when I'm talking to other residents, they talk about some other gunfires they heard on the other side. So it's really hard to see where, where it's coming from. Cause I've called a couple of times and they say, well, which direction was it? And I was like, I don't know. I really don't know. I just heard it. So I think this is great technology. Question I have for you has to do with, you mentioned that the officers are not called, or the signal is not doesn't go out to the police officers until it's been verified that it's an actual gunshot or what have you. Who is the person that is looking at that to send it out?
So we have a team of folks in what we call the Incident Review Center. And forgive me for not being more detailed, but I was trying to fit my time limit. So think of your own 911 communication center that serves you now. You have personnel, call takers, and dispatchers. They're taking phone calls about a host of public safety things, including animal control issues, right? Broken windows, stubborn child. Our people are working in tandem with them at a different location. And all they do is take the data input and review it. So it won't be a particular person, it's a team of folks, and we work 24/7, 365, just like your public safety answering point 911 personnel. We have an office in Fremont, California, an office in Washington, DC, so we have redundancy. This information goes over real time through the modems, instantaneous, it's reviewed. We contractually guarantee that we'll take that noise and determine if it's gunfire and give you an alert to the police in less than 60 seconds, or average between 30 and 45 seconds. What takes so long? The machine classifier takes about 5 seconds to filter out the extraneous noises, and then the human goes through those steps that I articulated earlier. Listen to the audio, look at the waveform configuration, look at the directionality of the acoustic participation, sometimes getting a second opinion, and then publishing the alert out to all those points that I talked about, desktops, laptops, phones, and watches. All that happens in under a minute.
Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't someone we had to like train on our staff to do.
We're, your subscription, all that service that I talked about, expert testimony, forensic analysis, all that's provided as part of your subscription.
Okay. And the other thing I would be really concerned about is the location where we are, meaning the airport. I mean, we could be on the phone and our call drop, you know, so I'm wondering about how, you know, how reliable, I guess, it will be for your technology to be sent somewhere, being where we're located. So I would, you know,
Right.
we would probably really need to look into that, make sure it's something that.
Well, we've got other deployments in 135 cities, and some of those are near airports as well, and I've never heard that concern.
Okay.
If it were a problem, our engineers would tell you right up front that we wouldn't service you and wouldn't take a contract. But for everything I'm seeing right now, this is certainly doable. And I know how far you are from the airport because I stayed at the airport Marriott. It's a 15-minute drive, so I know your proximity. We're also able to geofence noises. So we've got some of our customers where we abut a rifle range, or we abut hunting areas. We can geofence out, so we know exactly the line of the coverage area, and noises that happen outside the coverage area, we dismiss and we don't notify you about.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Antoine.
Yes, Ron, so we're talking about, well, great presentation.
Thank you.
So we're putting these devices on top of buildings, correct? So we're talking about 780 feet radius,
I'm sorry?
780 feet radius, right? Where the device will be put on top, it could cover 780 feet, correct?
No, the 780 feet is what our customers are telling us conventionally with 911 is how far away your caller is from the actual crime scene. Our sensors are placed with sufficient density, according to our engineers, so that we have absolute coverage in the area that you articulate. So let's say, for example, this whole room is the city of Forest Park, but you want to cover just where that table is.
Gotcha.
We're going to set up acoustic sensors in the coverage area and around the perimeter of the coverage area. So any gunfire that happens in the coverage area, we can detect, locate, and notify.
And how wide does it cover?
It covers the entire coverage area that you outline. So we work with the police department.
Okay.
They'd say, here's how many square miles we want to cover
Gotcha.
of our city. And no, we don't cover all of a city.
Right.
We cover where the gun violence has happened historically.
That's
And
what I was
so
trying to
your
say.
city, say, is 9.4, 9.37 square miles. Let's say there are 2 square miles that are the most problematic that we want to deploy. It could be 2 1 square miles, it could be contiguous. Once you determine that square mileage coverage area, we then deploy sufficient sensors. Now, the density varies according to topography and architecture. You're not paying per sensor, you're paying per square mile of coverage. That's your subscription. We'll deploy as many sensors as necessary to promise you at least 90% notification. Our average the last 2 years was 97%. So lastly, as to the density, much like your cell phone, Verizon or AT&T or one of the competitors have put enough cell towers and small cells on rooftops of buildings to make sure you don't have drop calls or dead spots. They fill that out over time. We would have the same kind of engineering. We know how many sensors we need to guarantee notification of any gunshot in the coverage area. Thank you for the question.
Councilman Gutierrez.
Great presentation. I can see how you believe and y'all are genuine about this product. I honestly don't have any questions. This is, you answered everything. I guess just the cost would be my question, and I guess we're going to talk about that, but thank you for the presentation.
Thank you. Councilwoman Wells.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like I'm gonna tell you, I was sitting up here thinking I was on the panel at Shark Tank. You know how the, you know how the people come up and they telling about their inventions, and I'm in. I am all the way in. So I feel like I'm on Shark Tank. But my question was, how did you hear about Forest Park? I'm just trying to see, was it something negative, or are people talking about the stuff that's going on that brought you here? If so, it's fine, because I'm glad you're here, but I just wanted to know how you heard about the video.
Well, I reached out to them.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
Leadership.
Well, thank you. I think a great presentation, and I also thank OmniAlert, and I'm picturing y'all doing something together.
Mhm.
Like it just sounds really good, and I'm excited about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Mears.
Yes, you enjoyed the presentation, and I know in my ward, you talking about you can decipher between firecrackers and gunshots. Well, holidays, all that, there's 4 or 5 firecrackers, 4 or 5 gunshots. I mean, just from dark till 1 or 2 in the morning. Now, how are you going, or can we distinguish that when we don't have all the police in Forest Park in one ward? Because it's mixed. It's not just 1 or 2. It's every other one just about continuously for 5 hours.
Well, first of all, we are very skilled, over 25 years of experience going through those seasonal fluctuations. New Year's Eve is not a holiday at ShotSpotter. It's all hands on. And we go through 5 New Year's Eve because we've got clients in the Caribbean and the Atlantic zone, all the way to the Pacific time zone. So 5 New Year's Eve as we go through each time. 4th of July, where I come from in South Bend, there's a 10-day allowance of firework activity till 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And we're on the western edge of Eastern Standard Time, so it's daylight until 11 o'clock midnight, fireworks all the time. ShotSpotter saves the police from chasing all those fireworks calls. We can cumulatively take that data and share it with the police, but alerting them when there's gunfire so they can distinguish and send them limited resources to where they're most needed, where the gunfire is, not where the fireworks are.
Well, I can see how that would work, because most of them within shouting distance of my house. It wouldn't be hard to blanket the whole situation.
We also have a proactive program that we work with our customers on suppressing celebratory gunfire and making sure we go out beforehand to the neighborhoods and let them know that we'll be holding people responsible for shooting a gun within city limits outdoors, to the extent that's a civil or criminal penalty here in Forest Park. We have programs that we work with across our cities on celebratory gunfire as well.
Well, let me ask Dr. Cooper, approximately how many square miles we got in total city? You know, I know, but I can't think.
9.37.
So it would obviously, if the panel agrees, would need that kind of coverage over the whole city, because everybody over the 9 square miles, because there's gunfire everywhere. I mean, just food for thought.
Yes.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for your presentation. It does sound like the governing body is thoroughly pleased with both presentations. And so it would be the desire to come back with some contracts, and we could start that negotiation hopefully within the next week or 2 or
Madam
so.
Mayor,
Yes.
I just want to make sure, I know that there are some other things that the police department has been working on with the county as far as bringing technology. So I would want to make sure that we have a conversation with the chief, as well as seeing what some of the other technology, because I don't want to just move on something. And to your comment, Councilwoman Wells, and I think this goes to the city as well, so that you all know that when we go to our GMA conferences and different conferences that we go to, we make connections, and Madam Mayor is very good about going to every table, seeing what every person has to offer. And so this is just a good way for you to know that your taxpayer money is going to how we can better our city and make our city better. So, but I would want to make sure that we're looking at all the options that are already being in play before we move on something.
And so just as with the OmniAlert presentation, Deputy Chief Brunson was a part of the presentation with ShotSpotter as well. Now, I can't tell you where Clark was doing both those presentations, but we did have representation from the police department as well as Josh and our IT director to make sure that this is something that they saw was feasible for the city. But Dr. Cooper, you have something you
I
wanted
was
to say?
just gonna respond to Councilwoman James. We are making sure that all the technologies that we come in are working together. That's one reason why we did bring up about Flock. The Flock cameras with the license plate readers and everything, because we are looking at all the technology. We want it to all work together. So the police department is in with this from day one. And that's why we just did the presentations today. We didn't bring any contracts or cost or anything, just to see if it's something that council would like us to move forward with. Now we can sit down with ShotSpotter and OmniAlert to start discussing the coverage and how we would need it and how it would look. So we know exactly what pricing and all the information to bring back to council. So we
And
do
that would
have
be
those.
with PD as well, yeah. All right. New business, confirmation of our new Director of Planning and Community Development. Background and history, confirmation of a new Director of Planning and Community Development. Is there,
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Dr. Cooper? Yes.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. We did do our due diligence and we did several interviews. And we had the perfect and shining star right here among our midst. So I would like to present to council for confirmation, Ms. LaShawn Gardner as our new Director of Planning and Community Development.
Excellent, excellent. Any discussion, Councilwoman James?
No, I think, I think Ms. Gardner has a degree in, can I give?
Once
her
she's
that?
confirmed, then yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, welcome.
Councilman Antoine?
This is the planning zoning director?
Yes. Councilman Gutierrez, anything?
Congratulations, Ms. Garner.
Councilwoman Wells? Councilman Mears?
No.
All right, thank you. Item 4, recycling discussion, background and history. The City of Forest Park and its current sanitation partner, Waste Management, provides residents with single-stream curbside recycling, educational materials and information, as well as a list of items that can be commingled and recycled is available via the city's and Waste Management's website. However, it has come to the attention of the city that while we are paying for recycling services in our current sanitation rates, a substantial portion of discarded items is dumped in regular trash. This is due to cross-contamination of residents mixing household trash and recyclables. Per the direction at the City Council meeting of June 21st of this year, the recent procurement for a new sanitation contract was thrown out, and the RFP process will start over with a recycling component included. Secondly, we are continuing to work with our current vendor and address residential issues and recycling. The city manager is seeking further direction of the City Council as to how they wish to address the recycling matter moving forward. And this is for discussion only. So, Councilwoman James, this was your
Yes.
item. Okay, you have the floor, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. So, I did have an opportunity to kind of come to an impromptu meeting. I didn't know what's happening. One of the things that I think that we have to do as a city is find out how we're going to educate our residents, because I think Ms. Franklin is here too. At one of my meetings, we were talking about recycling, and she was not aware of, and I'm sure she's not the only that's not aware that the recycling items that those that do recycle are going into the landfill. And so I think that we as a council need to make a decision as to how we're going to address it. I mean, are we going to we got new people coming in all the time. Are we going to say there is one day and make it clear to residents, there's only one day for waste disposal? And they need to know that there is only one day for waste disposal, because they're using those yellow the trash cans with the yellow top to put waste in. And so we're never going to get to the point where we actually have good recycling if we have those that are not aware. So what I had proposed, and I don't know if the council would agree, I don't know, this is really just for conversation, that we have some kind of takeaway, like we take away if they're not going to recycle, we take away the recycle cans so that they can't put anything in there, or I don't know, something needs to happen. I don't know what the answer is. I just think we definitely have to have the conversation, and I think we need to have the communication to our residents to let them know that we have a recycling piece. And so I don't know if you all, the audience, have a copy of what we got in our package, but this pamphlet here is excellent. I mean, I love it. So we're gonna have to get this information out again to our residents, because it actually tells when the waste days are for each side, the north side or the south side. It even tells who you call when you want to put out your bulk items. It tells you that you can go and use our recycling center that's open from like 9 to 12, and it's open for any resident in the city if you want to take something there. It tells you, that you have to call a number on and put your bulk item out on Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday. I read it right. So it'll be picked up by appointment only. So this information is information that some kind of way we have to drive into our community. We got to drive it into and because we have such a transit community, we have people coming in and out. It's something that we got to do on a continual basis. I don't know if we have to have, billboards around. I don't know what the answer is, but I know that there is something that we need to do. So I wanted to have this conversation today.
All right, thank you. Councilman Antoine? Councilman Gutierrez?
Yeah, I agree with this, Councilwoman. I mean, it starts with us taking pride in our community. We got to get in these schools. We got to make it cool too. Like, there's so many modern ways to like distribute information. Just sending a regular flyer might not get to everybody in the household. We gotta, be out there more, I think. And I think it comes to taking pride. Like, I go, when I used to work in Atlanta, you see people just walking and picking up trash. And, so here we do see some citizens doing that. But, we've had our Adopt a Road initiative. Only had like 3 people or 3 organizations take up on that. I believe in our people. I just think if we educate them and, keep pushing it, they will get there. But it takes everybody. It takes all of us, and taking pride in our community, and not just with the recycling, but the littering, like we were using some of the flower bins, such a beautiful area where we can add a plant and, add joy to somebody's commute, for trash, which in hindsight, I'd rather them throw it in the flower bin than on the ground, because at least it's in one place. But it's just, I'm trying to find the positive in that. But yeah, I just, I like that pamphlet though. I like all the information on there. We definitely need to disseminate that to the community.
Councilman Wells?
Yeah, I agree, but I do think because, you have some people that are into recycling, and then you have some people that aren't. So I think maybe we should look into maybe finding that percentage out and being charged for that, and not necessarily the entire city, because the entire city is not utilizing that. But I definitely agree with colleagues.
Councilman Mears?
Well, I agree with the information getting out, but I can't speak for these other wards. But in my ward, there's multiple families living in these houses, and I guess I never seen people with 6 or 7 cars, kids with all of them about 16 years old, but they are so much trash. They use the recycling along with the regular trash, especially on a long weekend. And what doesn't go into the 2 cans goes on the side of the road. So I think we've got a deeper problem than education. in some places, especially in my ward. I'm speaking of my ward. My bride is a paper picker upper, and she's out there every day, every other day. And she tells people all the time about how to do the garbage. But we still have the problem with the multiple dwellings, and the cans are full and you mix them. So that we got to come up with some other answers other than education.
Yes. Well, just to add on, like with, what I'm thinking Councilwoman Wells was saying is, not everybody recycles. So if people want to recycle, then maybe they can reach out and request the bids. And that way, I think we have a greater chance of knowing that those that are intentionally asking for the recyclable bins are actually going to do it and do it correctly, which could eliminate some cross-contamination. But then we do have the funding that we get from Waste Management for recycling. And so we could use that to send out mail outs. I don't know if when people move out, and now that we got this rental inspection unit, that could be part of it. And we can give them the flyer so the new people coming in will know that that's an option. And then we have our PIO, who's been doing a phenomenal job of getting information out, and we can make sure we utilize that. And then with the newsletter, I'm making sure it goes out there too. So I think we're on the right track of weeding out some of that stuff, but we just have to be, I think you mentioned it, being consistent with it. And it's not just you send out a letter one day and then we're done. I don't know if we have to do it every time we get a check. Make sure we send out notices or something. And that will help with the cost too of the mail outs.
So, Madam Mayor,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
how do we go about correcting some of the wrong? I mean, how do we go about correcting the yellow trash cans being used for trash? I mean, what's the solution for that?
We're gonna go back around.
And I don't know if I don't know if we can, but yeah, that's my question.
Well, maybe sending something out, and if residents want to keep it, then they get to keep them. And if not, then they turn them in. I mean, I don't know if it's that simple.
In some ways that it's always, it's included in the current rate that we are paying. So that is part of, as you said, the new RFP that has went out, to have it more of an add-on. Because right now we are paying for it. It's just like the data that we've collected with even using the recycling center, council, I will tell you, a lot of our residents are using our recycling center as a dump, not really recycling. The things they bring within the area, and a lot of times it's not one resident, it's multiple, it's one person coming multiple times. And it's not, and you almost know that this is not a recycled thing. It's more so of they probably own property or they're probably doing something, even though they're resident in Forest Park, and they're basically using it as a dump. We try our best with the staff that we do have, and it is only open, certain hours of the day to make sure what they're dumping. So one of the things we can do moving forward with looking at a new contract, regardless of who it's with, is using it as a piece added on. At this point, I don't know exactly if we would be able to, and that's something that's a discussion I would need to have with our sanitation group as well as our city attorney, if we would even be able to go back to say to our current vendor, we would like to remove this from people who don't want it and basically charge people that do want it. How do we do that? So we would really have to sit down to discuss if that would be an option under our current vendor. And if not, the educational aspect of getting things out. These flyers that you see here are something that our public works department had already developed and had been giving out, sending out. They constantly update the information on things that are changing. And I put this in here just for that reason. So the council could see that there is education, there is information going out. It is on the website about recycling. It's just like the flower planters. We can beg and plead, but you're always going to have somebody that's going to continue to do it. So, I think we can address this, but I think we're going to have to address it in a different way from what we're currently doing as far as just education. We're gonna have to say, you know, if you want it, maybe they may have to pay for it, or we figure out some funding mechanism that it's coming through, but everybody's not paying for it. We just have to have those discussions.
Councilman Antoine,
It's kind of like,
talking to you, Mike.
it's actually something that's something that we have, I don't know how to solve this, because majority of the people that live here are renters. And a lot of it goes to, if you don't have ownership, you don't really treat it as if it's yours. So that's just like living, just having somebody that lives with you, you know, they trash the house and you like, you know, but that's a topic that we wish everybody would take a pride of, but that's a hard one. Hopefully it works out.
Councilman Gutierrez.
Yeah, I remember the old Public Works Director, Mr. Edie, had proposed that we label the bins. Let's say people get the option to recycle, but once one is contaminated, they get a pin, like a little label on their bin that, you know, it's been contaminated. So if you do it again, then you lose that privilege. So yeah, so I just think that was a really good idea. You never got to roll it out, but I just think that's something that we could use. I just want to give them credit for that. But that's something that we can use for that, you know, for that thought. But yeah, you know, renegotiating it, if we're paying for something that we're not using, I mean, we basically have 2 trash pickup days right now. So we need to see, you know, if we're paying more for that recycling, we're not using it, we need to get back to the table and negotiate that.
Councilwoman Wells.
Yeah, so I kind of go back to what Councilman Mears said as far as the families. You can't control how many people live in the household, and some people need more trash cans. Like, I'm not a person that's gonna recycle. You have, and I don't think it has anything to do with whether you rent a home or own a home, is if that's something you're into. And if you're not into it, you're not gonna do it whether you own a home or rent. So I think what Dr. Cooper said as far as determining who actually recycles, who wants the trash cans, because if you don't recycle, they give you 2 bins. And I think something that could help in your ward, Mayor, is if you go to them and asking, you know, 2 bins enough? Do you need 3 bins so that we can keep some of the trash afterward? Us as representatives of our ward want to look good, but we can't just complain about the issues and not try to do anything about them. So I think that determining who actually wants to recycle, and I also think money talks. So if you have a recycle bin and you're not actually recycling, then maybe you fine them, because this is something that the city is paying for. Then you fine them, and then people will say, okay, well, look, I don't need this recycling bin. Just give me another trash bin, you know, and then that takes a lot off of the city as well. So we play a huge part, and we can control the narrative if we want to. We just can't put it on the residents, because some don't know better. And when you know better, you do better. So again, I think going to the residents and talking to them and seeing what their actual needs are, if that type of stuff is going on in your area, then see what you can do as a representative to help that.
Councilman Mears.
Yes, ma'am. Not to labor the point, but back to what I was talking about, multiple dwellings, most people in my ward are using the yellow can because the green can won't hold all the waste. Now, maybe I should know, but I don't do, how much does an extra can cost? If you were to get an extra garbage can where you had 2 garbage and 1.
Mr. Jennings, do you have that number?
I'm guessing it would, anyway.
Recycling,
Talking to your mic, please.
recycling, they charge city $6.19. But for solid waste, it's $15 per month. So they would have to pay more per year, more than just what they charge for recycling if they got 2 solid waste.
So you got 2 green cans, they would have to pay $6 more,
Yes.
which that might alleviate part of the problem, because they usually have so much, one will hold it, even though the pickup is persistent, I still have a bunch of them left over. But anyway, it was food for thought.
That goes back to, if you put, if you fine, give them a fine. and say, if you're using this recycling bin for trash, they wouldn't mind paying that $15 versus whatever feed the city. You know, they'll rather pay that than keep getting fined for using the wrong bin. So I think that's something we should look
I
into.
agree.
Absolutely. All right, thank you.
I agree with that too. I think that's a good idea.
I'll look into that, council, and bring back the recommendation.
Item 5, council consideration of an amendment to the code enhancing the boarded windows ordinance. Background and history. In February of 2020, the city council adopted an ordinance regulating the boarding up of windows and doors within the city. The intention of the ordinance was to allow the limited permitting of the boarding up of windows and doors with the expectation that property owners would make repairs to such doors and windows prior to the expiration of such permits. Since adoption, a number of properties have obtained the necessary permits, but the owners have not made the necessary repairs to the properties. Instead, they have merely renewed the permits month after month. It is proposed that the ordinance be strengthened by allowing one renewal and adding a specific penalty for the failure of a property owner to make the repairs required to be made in order to get the permit. The fee for a renewal has been increased to take into account the substantial additional staff time involved in monitoring compliance with the ordinance for those owners who have failed to maintain their properties in compliance with the code. Councilwoman James, do you have any questions or comments?
No comment.
Councilman Antoine.
No comment.
Councilman Gutierrez.
Nope.
Councilwoman Wells and Councilman Mears.
Nope.
All right, thank you. So we do have executive session tonight. It is 7:30. I'm going to ask that we have adjourned the work session. And if no one needs a break, we jump right into the regular meeting and we can get out of here soon. Sounds good? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Councilwoman James, is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Gutierrez, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. It is 7:30. And the regular session for mayor and council for August 5th is called to order. And as with any other meeting, we're going to open with the mission statement, which is as follows. It is the mission of the city of Forest Park to enhance, strengthen, and grow our city by collaborating with our community to provide the highest level of service, striving to be recognized as a diverse community that values and respects all members. We strive to provide fair, professional, and courteous service through transparency and open communication. As we work to achieve this mission, we will have integrity beyond reproach while employing fiscal discipline and innovation. In this work, there are no praises and no raises for mediocrity. Ms. Hood, roll call, please.
Roll call for August 15th, 2022 regular meeting. Mayor Butler,
Present.
Councilmember James,
Present.
Councilmember Anton,
Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Councilmember Gutierrez,
Present.
Councilmember Akins, Well,
Here.
Councilmember Mears.
Here.
Thank you. I kind of went out of order here, but we're going to have our invocation by our very own Elder Wanda Miller with Gateway Restoration. To all those who are able to stand, can you please do so and remain standing throughout the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening.
Hey.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for bringing us here today, safe and sound. We thank you, Lord God, for bringing us before this great body so that we may do your work, do it well, and do it, Lord God, expeditiously. We ask, oh Lord God, that your Holy Spirit would be present with us here tonight and that all affairs will be done decently and in order, and that you would get the glory out of everything that is done and said here tonight. We ask this in your precious Son's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and
justice
justice
for all.
for all.
All right, we have one comment for our public comments. That's Ms. Falami's.
Good evening. I would just like to make a recommendation on the recycling. I am on the climate and wildlife and recycling for the state of Georgia. I think if the waste management teaches their staff not to pick up because they have to open the bin in order to dump it. And if they see that it is mixed together, leave it, that particular household will call in. That way we can begin to get an inside communication. So I don't want to stick on that because I have something else to do. I want to take the time to thank the city of Forest Park for allowing us to recognize one of our very fine owners, Miss Judy P. Taylor. We had a marvelous time. I want to thank Dr. Cooper, Chief Nathan Clark, Deputy Brownson, and Sergeant Lewis for helping this to turn out such amazing. And when I say everybody that came out to support us, they was there. Unfortunately, we kind of bumped head with the fire department and the police department. I hate when that happened because it caused us to have to make a choice on what public service we attend. And I really don't like that. But moving on, I think Ms. Taylor is here. I think she can also attest with me. It was a marvelous, great day. We thank you, Dr. Cooper, for being that Grand Marshal. Nevertheless, I rode through the city the other day and I saw some property of the government municipality is just groomed and looked very nice. But however, when I went over to Cash Memorial to the police department, I know the last time y'all went over there, there's an area really need to be paid attention to. I think a little more attention over there could help that department look a little upgraded. Let's just show interest throughout our city. And I definitely want to take a moment to thank every staff in the city of Forest Park who came out for me to coordinate a reading for UNIDO's charter school. It was just, you just can't get word to explain it. And I did get a recommendation from the BOE last week in reference to it. So again, if we collectively work together, we can fix this situation. With that recycling, we've been here numerous of times, but because the administration changes over, things change and people don't think the same, feel the same, and do the same. The best way to kind of nip it in the bud is to leave the bin. Somebody in that household gonna call and say, why didn't you pick up my bin? And therefore, the person who picking up their trash on the trash day will dump trash, and the person who picking up recycler, if they have it mixed up, leave it. And that'll start a communication throughout our city. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. Is there a motion to adopt tonight's agenda? Councilman Mears, is there a second?
I'll second.
That was Councilwoman James. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Now, has everyone had the opportunity to review the minutes from August 1st, our work session and our regular meeting? I know there were some corrections that were submitted. So I don't know if everyone saw the agenda with the minutes with those corrections. But if there's not any questions or any additional corrections to be mentioned, I will ask for a motion to approve those minutes with the recommended changes.
So moved.
That was Councilwoman James. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Antoine, any discussion? Councilwoman James?
Yes.
Councilman Antoine?
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wells? And Councilman Mears?
Yes.
Confirmation of our new Director of Planning and Community Development. Do you have the thing from before? Okay. Is there a motion to confirm Mrs. LaShawn Gardner as our new Director of Planning and Community Development?
So moved.
Councilwoman James, is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilman Antoine, any further discussion? Councilman?
Yes.
Yes.
Have discussion. Like, if this does go past, I would hope that you take it serious because there's a lot of calls that I get from one of the employees that work in that department, harassing businesses or harassing homeowners and basically causing homeowners and businesses to really not want to be here no more. And I would hope as a worker for planning and zoning that you're a good negotiator, a good listener. And that's a big issue right now that is not being talked about. A lot of businesses are not feeling that the city has their best interests because of one of your employees. So I hope that you take that serious. Thank you.
Yes. You voted yes, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh, we didn't do the vote. That was discussion. Councilwoman James?
Yes.
Councilman Antoine?
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wells?
I'm going to abstain, and the reason I'm going to abstain, nothing against nobody. I just, like, someone texted me today, who was the new director of planning, building and zoning, and I had no idea. So just as with anything else, I don't vote on something I don't know about and I haven't had a chance to look into. So I just rather abstain from voting.
Councilman Mears?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Is there anything you would like to say? Well, she'll be sworn in.
Good evening. I
Good
would
evening.
just like to take time out and say thank you for your belief in me for this position. And it will be my pleasure to work with you all. And as an employee, we are a team. So we are able to talk about the issues and come to a resolve. We may not always agree on different issues, but we are here to resolve issues to the best of our ability in this stead, and also to be better stewards of the taxpayers' dollars. Thank you.
All right, thank you and welcome. Council adoption of an amendment to the code enhancing the board windows ordinance 22-13. Is there a motion to approve this item?
Madam Mayor, I say we approve item agenda number 3.
All right, that was Councilman Antoine. That was a second by Councilman Gutierrez. Any further discussion? Councilwoman James?
Yes.
Councilman Antoine?
Yes.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wells?
Yes.
And Councilman Mears?
Yes.
Excellent. Closing comments by the governing body. Councilwoman James?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I do want to remind everyone of the ward meeting. Dr. Cooper did mention it, but the time is at 5 p.m. It's at the Hartsfield Community Center on Thursday at 5 p.m. It also will be a hybrid. So if you're not able to make it in person, it will be available on Zoom. That information will be or is available on the website. And then on Wednesday at 6 o'clock, I will be at Forest Park United Methodist Church, which is at 4473 College Street, along with the chief of police and the members of the police department for the Ward 1 community meeting. It's kind of like a neighborhood watch meeting type thing, but it's a community meeting. And you'll get information about crime that's happening in the area and other things that the police would like to give to the community. And I also will give more detail on the senior, the over 62 information that Ms. Gardner had sent to us that the county is doing for home repair and home improvement. So I'll have that information available to you as well. That will be on Wednesday at 6 p.m. at Forest Park United Methodist Church. And then I want everyone to mark your calendar for all of our alumni. And before I go over the alumni, I want to acknowledge the Forest Park Fire Department. And I went to the award ceremony and I learned some things about some staff members. And I'm so excited. And I don't know the name, I don't remember the name. All I remember is the Firefighter of the Year, right? Is an alumni of Forest Park High School, and he has been with the department, I don't know how long now. I'm not putting you on the spot, but anyway, we have some people that's been with the fire department for a very long time. We have some alumni members in the park. And by the way, Chief Clemens, I also saw a red car and I wasn't able to be there at the first part of the meeting. So I'm sure that red car, maybe we can put the Cardinals. I think Jonesboro is the Cardinals, right? Councilwoman Wells?
Oh, you better stop.
So our homecoming game, which is coming up on September the 10th, we paid Jonesboro Cardinals on the 16th. So maybe we can have a red car with the Cardinals in our homecoming parade, and maybe we can have some of the football players and bashing it.
Chief Clemens, no, stay out of
That big, beautiful building that they have. I mean, it's like a coliseum over there at Jonesboro High School. I haven't seen Mara High School yet, but Forest Park Middle School is coming soon, so they're
Coming
gonna be
soon.
tearing down that old building. Actually, the kids are being transported now to the old Mara High School for classes for this school year. But okay, I digress. Mark your calendar for September the 10th at 10 a.m. We will have the Forest Park Homecoming Parade. So I would love for all those alumni members of the police department, the fire department, the public works department, Jinx covering his head there. I know he's a Forest Park alumni as well. But please let's just celebrate. And immediately following the parade, we will be at Kiwanis Stadium for a co-ed flag football game. And so once we get the flyer all fine-tuned, you'll be able to contact Coach Jay. His contact information will be on there. In case you want to be on the flag football team, you can sign up for the flag football team. Also, we will have t-shirts. So all the proceeds go to the high school, and Coach Arnold will be ordering a bunch of t-shirts in all different sizes. Size small to extra large is $15, and the extra large and greater is $20. So please think about participating, getting a homecoming t-shirt, going to the game on the 16th, beating the Jonesboro Cardinals, and just having a good time. So thank you all, and we appreciate you.
Councilman Antoine?
Yes, congratulations to the new employees. Welcome to the All-Star team. I want to give a big shout out to all the Indians. Today is India's National or Independence Day. People that live in India, was that? Yep, today is their Independence Day. I want to also let everybody know that we are sharing the good word with the students at Forest Park High School, how they can join the police department and the fire department. We got flyers all over the school. We mentioned to the students, I got the opportunity to teach American government this year, and everybody comes to class on time because I'm actually showing them how government is not just at the White House or at the state capitol with Brian Kemp, but you have government right in front of your face, and they're viewing it right now. So, because some of them might be a mayor, a city councilman, a president, congressman, and I inspired them for that. Also want to continue to tell everybody that comes, you are noticed. You don't come in for no reason. We appreciate everybody coming in. Thank you for all the directors and everybody that's making a difference within the city. I'm proud of everybody. I'm happy. Thank you, and God bless.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Thank you. Happy Independence Day to Indian Americans. I just want to say thank you, everybody, for coming. Like Councilman Antoine said, really excited about that kickoff with Jonesboro. I don't know what animal they are. And our Forest Park Panthers.
The Cardinals.
So, y'all know what it is. But pull up to that for sure. I had a blast at my last bingo night. Remember, our senior committee meets the second Friday until the Fun Friday time is up. Then we'll go back to the third Friday. That way we can enjoy all the festivities of our city. But I just really enjoy learning from our elderly community and just come out and have fun and play at the senior center. That was fun. I missed the food truck Friday we had. We themed it out to be a back to school. So we gave out a lot of school supplies. Our council aides held it down. Director Maxwell and the people from Public Works always do an amazing job out there. So thank you for that. I have some news to give you guys. House Representative David Scott sent us all a letter, and he said he allotted $1 million to Clayton County Justice Center Hub, $260,000 to Clayton County Legal Aid Office, and $1 million to the MARTA Safe Routes to Transportation. So he told me to let you guys know in this letter, and I just did that. I also transitioned out of teaching last week. I now, like my colleagues here, work for Clayton County Public Schools. I came back home. So I'm really excited. Yeah, I started last Thursday at the district. I honestly was a little bit scared to leave the classroom because that's my safe space. The children make me happy, but I'm now going to be a community school supervisor. So I'm going to be working on Forest Park Middle and Forest Park High School with my colleagues, hopefully just building relationships and bringing more resources to our children. So I'm excited about that. I'm probably going to be in the classrooms also just to get that energy from the children. But yeah, just thank you everybody for coming out. Like Councilman Antoine said, we appreciate you. And, when we go to these conferences and these spaces, like the mayor brought back these resources, it's all to, better our city, and just keeping y'all safe. Please reach out with any ideas you have to making this better. So yeah, thank you for coming out.
Councilwoman Wells?
Yeah, I'm gonna respond to what Councilwoman James said. No, look, I am Forest Park. I am Forest Park all day. My family grew up here. We went to high school here, but I made a decision to take my son from Forest Park High School, and he went to Jonesboro High School, and he's one of the top athletes in Clayton County in baseball and basketball. So that's why that's coming. That's why that's coming. So y'all do need to make sure y'all be at some of these baseball games and these basketball games. He's gonna finish the football season at Jonesboro as well. And he's a senior. So y'all make sure, because when I say they are rivals, they are rivals. When I was in high school, Morrow was our rivals, but it seems like Forest Park and Jonesboro, I don't know what it is, but it's gonna be some interesting games, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. I just want to say thank you to some of the sponsors for Forest Park Day. So Forest Park Day is this Saturday. And it's from 12 to 9. We're gonna have a live wrestling match out there at 6 p.m. I've never seen it. I'm getting in the ring, y'all. I'm hitting somebody with a chair. I'm hitting somebody. I have some stuff I need to release, and they said I could do it, and I'm doing it. So y'all gotta come see it. But we're gonna have a good time. Mr. Melvin Bell, I just wanna thank him. His brother just passed away, but he's a huge sponsor. He's supplying the food trucks, the bouncy houses for the kids. They're gonna have a Nerf war set up. The bubble, I don't know what it's called, but it's going to be so much stuff out there for the kids to do. And Forest Park Day is just a community day where the community, old and new, comes together and they set up their tents and everybody cook and everybody can go around to the different tents and get their food and meet your neighbors. And we just have a good time. And we've been doing it for a long time. So I'm really looking forward to Forest Park Day and the food at Forest Park Day. And I also want to give a huge shout out to Jonathan and Rumors, because they wrote a check for $1,500 that I keep leaving in my bag that I need to bring to the city so we can get Mr. Bell some of his money back. So I thank you so much, Jonathan, for everything that you all do, contributing to our community and what the community love. I appreciate it so much. And I'm not going to be the one to say, oh, it's a rumor, it's a nightclub. And I'm not going to say this, because you all do a lot for a lot of people, but a lot of people don't recognize that. So I just want to truly thank you from the bottom of my heart. And that's the only time I really go to the strip club, is when I go and pick up something from Jonathan. I go through that back door. Thank you so much. So I hope you all come out, bring your family and your friends out to Forest Park Day. We're going to have a great time. And again, it's from 12 to 9, and the wrestling match will begin at 6 p.m. Thank you guys for coming, and have a great night.
Councilman Mears?
Yes, I too went to the big gala, the celebration over at the fire department, and by much surprise, I don't know why I was surprised, but Ms. Clemson doing a good job. We got a bunch of new equipment over there. And I was amazed by that, the way it looks, and we got some more equipment coming. And I want the people in Forest Park to know that our fire department and police department, with the card reader, tag readers, and all for the cars, you're way ahead of the game in Forest Park. I was worried. We got new ambulances. Everything's good. I got pictures of a new fire recruit. If anybody wants to see him, won't call his name, but I'll give you his initials, Cooper. He was dressed out trying to tear up a window or something over there. I don't know, but I was really impressed with the quality of equipment and the changing of the turnout suits and the shape of that fire station is old. It was here when I was here. Anyway, it's we're moving forward with equipment. The new station's coming up. We're getting the police fixed up, and I just want citizens of Forest Park, which is one of my favorites, is doing well as far as public safety. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll echo the sentiments of my colleagues. I'm in the process of preparing for this year's State of the City address. And as I'm going through my notes and gathering all my information, I am just reminded of how far we have come within the last 4 years of this administration. And it is really, really, really amazing. So we'll start sending information and start keeping you guys informed on when that's going to be. And I was walking my dog the other day, and this gentleman that our dogs play together, and we finally sat and had a conversation. And turns out he grew up in Forest Park, and he's of a particular age, but he was sharing with me the rival about Forest Park High School in Jonesboro. And yeah, he probably knows Councilman Mears. He's been around that long, but and so.
35.
Yeah.
I've been here,
Where's the shot?
I- I've been here before they paved the park, Main Street.
Concrete was invented.
But no, it's really cool to hear that rivalry is still going on. But his point to it all was how much support and how many people, he said, no matter what was going on, that was the game to be. And so I want us to get back to those times where we're all going out and supporting not just the sporting events, but community events as well. And so
Y'all put money back in the budget for these events.
no, but you guys
That's
are getting
important.
donations, and so we could go while you guys getting donations for it and still come out and support. I'm really pleased at how Shot Spotter and OmniAlert, those presentations would. I think that is really going to help increase public safety as a whole. And so I look forward to us moving forward with those two items, as well as some of the other things that we have coming down the pipeline. Chief Clemens, the open house was awesome. I really appreciate what it is that you're doing with that department. And I've heard a lot of great things about what you're doing over there, like a lot. And so I'm really pleased that you're in that role. And so thank you for everything that you're doing. And so with that said, is there a motion to recess and go into executive session for personnel, litigation, and real estate matters? All right, there's a second.
I'll second.
Councilwoman James, all in favor?
Uh,
Opposed? All right, thank you. That's not the same.
I think I was already going to one out of network.
So move. I'll
Well, I have to
second.
pull.
Aye.
Oh, yes, okay. There a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
You are,
You got a public comment?
is there a motion to adjourn the work session and reconvene into our regular meeting?
No, it's not a work.
Y'all know what it is. Is there a motion to adjourn the executive session and reconvene into our regular session?
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Now, yes,
Madam Mayor, based on the discussion in executive session, a motion would be in order to authorize a settlement agreement which authorizes our insurance carrier to settle the Shalonda Brown litigation.
so now it's Councilwoman James, is there a second?
I second.
Councilman Mears, any discussion? Councilwoman James?
Yes.
Councilman Antoine? Councilman Gutierrez? Councilwoman Wells? And Councilman Mears?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move. I'll second.
All right, thank you.
Who gets the birthday